at 319, we're back into his, I guess we get back, he goes out of his narrative, now he's back into his narrative, okay? Back into Paul Haggis' narrative. And he talks about Paul Haggis not connecting up with Jason Beghe. And so this is almost like a script, like a spec script, you know, of Haggis, because he says, quote, he says, Beghe says, "I just want you to know I'm no longer in Scientology," Beghe told Haggis when he called. Quote, "Actually, I'm one of his most outspoken critics. The church would be very unhappy if you hire me." Okay? Now let's go back for a second here. Oh, again, Haggis was casting the next 3 days in the summer of 2009, and he asked Jason Beghe to read a part for his detective. Right? Okay. He omits that Paul Haggis called Jason Beghe to participate in his movie because I asked Paul Haggis. The only thing I ever asked of Paul Haggis was to do something for somebody else because Jason Beghe was such a wreck and so convinced, and his confidence was so shot that he was so convinced that he couldn't ever work again. I asked Paul Haggis, without telling Jason Beghe, can you give this guy something, anything? That's all omitted from here. So they make it look like a cold call that Paul Haggis just decided, hey, when I decide to cast somebody, I cast somebody, right? So they make this guy out to be John Wayne. So he calls him, and then according to this, he's learning for the first time, which is bullshit because I've already told Paul Jason Beghe's whole history. I've had him watch his YouTube videos. He knows the whole story, chapter and verse. But the way this is written, just a cold call. And then he's learning for the first time when Jason tells him, I just want you to know I'm no longer in Scientology, Beghe said. Right? Actually, I'm one of his most outspoken critics. The church would be very unhappy if you hire me. End of quote, right? And what does John Wayne say? Nobody tells me who I can cast. Haggis responded. Right? These guys, if this happened, they're just living this Hollywood fantasy of theirs. Haggis is acting like a big macho guy. Haggis talked to me for like days about making this call to Beghe. And then he acts like, for the first time, he's learning that Jason's disaffected, and his immediate response is, throw caution to the wind, right? I don't take orders from nobody. This is just all invention.